Howdy, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Stay Creative podcast, a show dedicated to highlighting, promoting, and celebrating the unique art and soul of the many talented independent artists that I meet. Through making this show, I have strengthened an existing belief that you cannot have a conversation with a person about their passion without taking some of it for yourself. So this show is also dedicated to sharing insights, tips, and encouragement that are going to be beneficial to people in any stage of finding, refining, or perfecting their creative voice. Today we're talking with Porkboii. She is a talented singer and songwriter who not only spends a great deal of time making her own music, but also collaborates with quite a few people. So you may have already heard her if you've listened to some of the past guests of this show. She's going to be sharing some of her own personal motivations and inspirations and practice tips and things like that. Also, of course, some of her music, both some of her earliest work and some things that are about to come out. So please stay tuned. It's easy for me to say Porkboii's an artist or a musician, but obviously you've got a little more of an inside scoop on who you are. So introduce yourself.
Cool. I'm Porkboii. I am an artist just in general. I like doing artistic things. The thing that I'm most committed to, I think, is music. I do sculpture, I do painting, but those are just hobbies. And I would describe myself as a singer-songwriter. I mostly write on my guitar because it's easy. I started playing and writing about 5 years ago. I used to be in a band called Burning Beauties, and that was super sick. And then once that stopped, I was super sad. So I decided that I was going to continue making music somehow. And so I did. And I actually started off going by Pony G, and then I went by Sarai from Tinder. And then I did Porkboii, and that stuck the longest. I've been Porkboii for like 3 years.
I feel like there's an entire interview we could do about each of these names, but why don't you tell me some about where the name Porkboii originated?
So Porkboii originated because I shaved my head back in 2018. So it hasn't been 3 years. Okay. Back in 2018, I shaved my head it was kind of like a college event. You know, like when it's like one of those sales where you're like, oh, $1 for one, $1 two, you know? And
like an auction.
An auction, yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, what should I auction? And the auction was for funding an event at the end of the year for the seniors. And I was a senior, so the seniors are supposed to donate something for the auction. And I was like, I'll donate my hair that I've been growing out for 2 or 3 years now. I was like, cool, auction off my hair. You can do whatever you want to it. And I got $75 for it, which is shameful. But yeah, like I got like an airbender arrow on my head, like shaved into it and like dyed. And then my mom was absolutely destroyed because I looked like a punk. So I just shaved it all off. That way I didn't go to like my graduation ceremony with an arrow on my head.
Yeah.
And so my girlfriend at the time was moving to Chicago, and we went there and we were hanging out at the Millennium Park, or as everybody calls it, the Bean Park, or the Big Bean Park. And our mutual friend pointed out that since my hair is really thick and grows all like straight out, I look like a porcupine. And my girlfriend replied, "Oh, like a little pork boy." And I was like, yes, this is it. That's me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I like that there's, to a certain extent, it just seems like gibberish, you know, but there is such a story tied up in it.
Yeah.
I really like that. That's cool. So you said you started writing and playing guitar on your own, singer-songwriter type stuff about 5 years ago, but you were in a band before that. So when did you start making music just originally?
I feel like I've been kind of making music my whole life, but I never like really sat down and was like, I'm going to make a song, you know? I've always made like little jingles, and I remember I would like while doing my homework, I'd be like singing what I was doing, just to keep myself like engaged. And when I remember like very clearly in like, I want to say it was like 6th grade or 5th grade, my dad was taking me and my sister to school, and we made up this song. It was like a rap. And the rule was like every word had to rhyme. So it took us like 15 minutes to get to school, and in 15 minutes we made like a minute long song. And I like could still sing it right now. It would take me like a second, but it's all in Spanish, and it's also gibberish. But yeah, I've always really liked just making things of my own, like making jingles, and I've been like very musically inclined. I used to not like really be like confident in my singing. And I remember my mom clearly, I was like, I'm gonna sing for this thing, and she was like, are you sure? And I was just like, what the hell, Mom? So but that didn't deter me, thank God.
Before it was something you worked on, it was just something you did kind of naturally.
Yeah, and my dad also was like guitar player his whole life.
Oh.
And like I would see him singing, and my grandma sang. So yeah, I was just always surrounded by people that were like pretty musical.
So you said like this 1 minute rap song was all in Spanish. Do you ever use your Spanish? What's the word I'm looking for?
Bilingualism.
Yeah. Do you ever write bilingual music? Fluency. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh, my fluency. Yes, I like wrote a couple of songs. Well, one song in Spanish for Burning Beauties. And there's one song that's in the works for me, but right now I'm like on the writing stage, kind of like trying to figure out. I have kind of a melody for a chorus figured out in kind of like the main like meat of the chorus. But I'm kind of like sitting on it to where my thoughts get fully formed. Sometimes I like sit on songs because they're just like a little jingle in my head. Based on an experience, but they're not like a fully thought out thing, and I have to like, spend a second. But there's one song that I want to make it like completely Spanish, but because I'm used to writing in English, like the conventions in melody and like structure in English and Spanish are very different, and I feel like that gives me kind of like an interesting way to like approach music, but also it does make me struggle a little bit when writing in Spanish, because I struggle with like fitting in the words and the melodies together, because I'm so used to doing it in English in general. So I know that it sounds like a little sloppy. Yeah.
So I wonder, would it sound sloppy only to someone who is a native Spanish speaker?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If I think an English speaker would be like, wow, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Because I've heard other like Mexican Americans write songs in Spanish, and I hear it too. I'm like, oh, you can tell you've been living here and writing in English for so long.
Awesome. So early on, like, be this when you were already making music with your band, or maybe when you started, writing for yourself, or even before that, who were some of your earliest influences, maybe outside of your family, since you did have a kind of musical family?
Yeah. For when I started writing for myself, my biggest influence at the time was 100% like Frankie Cosmos, and The Strokes and Calero, mostly because the structures of their songs, the chord progressions, like everything was super, super simple. And I was like, perfect. I like don't even know how to play guitar. This is a great way for me to get my like foot in the door. And it kind of like allowed me to practice with like really simple melodic structures and really simple like chord progressions that I didn't have to like struggle with too much. Also, their like strumming patterns were really simple.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that I've been like, I don't need to strum any type of way. Like people get what I'm trying to do,
Yeah, for sure.
So I've like held myself back a little bit in that sense. But I would say those three are my main ones.
The guitar doesn't have to be the star of the show. in your
Yeah.
songs because you are so expressive with your vocal melody. So it's cool that you have that, you found that freedom to just kind of rock a downstrum, 8 notes, guitar riff and
Yeah.
sing over it, and just kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really interesting. I want to ask, just based on this moment where you were listening to a lot of that type of music, and you were starting to find your own sound kind of within it. If you right now could send a piece of advice back to that person, who you were, what would that advice be?
Be more consistent. Like, just do more all the time. And I would also give that piece of advice to me right now.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I feel like the hindsight 2020 thing is about like clarity, but if you have a little clarity on who you are at the moment, that's pretty helpful too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to play the first song you're going to share with us, and I think it's called Love Song. Is that the title of the song?
The full song is Love Song I Never Wrote.
Oh, okay, yeah. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. So introduce that song for us a little bit.
Cool. This is the first song that I kind of had like a full on like revelation with. Like I wrote it in one night. I remember I had this one riff in my head. Like this was like 2017. I was on my way to Ithaca, New York for an internship. And I had this riff that was inspired by this song in the Powerpuff Girls. And I was like, oh, I could like really like do something with this. And then I remember one night I got drunk and I was thinking about the only person that I had really ever loved in my life at that point in time. And all of the things that I never said to them because we had like a pretty bad fallout in the relationship. And yeah, I kind of just like sat down and like wrote it down in 30 minutes while like sobbing and crying. And then I came home and like sang it at an open mic night. And then someone came up to me crying also. And they were like, that really touched me. Like I can really relate. Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, this is so nice. Like I can connect with people like this.
Yeah.
So it was one of the first times that I was just like, oh, what I'm doing is great. Like I feel a sense of release, and like putting my thoughts down into a song is a great way for me to like parse through my thoughts.
Yeah. That's a really cool story. Just I feel like it's cool that you took the experience, took the feelings, and made something out of them, like a therapeutic evening spent with yourself, writing this song, but also that you were willing to then take this raw nerve of a song and give it to others, share it with other people, so that maybe they could grow through your experience too. That's really cool. When you listen back to this song now, does it bring back memories of this doomed relationship, or is it more memories of the positive impact the song has had since?
It's kind of both. It depends on how I'm feeling. I think a lot of the time when I'm like listening to my own music, just in general, I'll be listening to my music in the car and like feeling some type of way, like being in my feelings. And then I listen to a song from like years ago and I'm like, oh my God, this bitch really gets me. I'm like, say it.
Yeah.
I always wanted to write you a love song, always trying to find the right thing to say. Here I am, a last song in hand, singing to celebrate our share and the times that together we spent in the past. And I sometimes look back cried. I was in so much pain when we said our goodbyes. I now know it's for the better. You knew better than I. And I sometimes sing at night, because I don't miss all those times that we hurt each other. We were both so young, and we still are. I just hope you're happy. You know how I try. I always wanted to write you a love song. I know love is real. I loved you. Here I am in the end. Here's your song. I am sorry it all went so wrong. I know love is real. I know thanks to you.
For being so early in your songwriting time, your journey up to now, I'd say it carries a lot of what I already like about your music, but also contains like a sort of rawness in both production and writing that I think I don't know, more music would be better with. I enjoy it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was like the first year when I was like really writing like raw. Before, because I was in a band, my bandmates were kind of like, they were going for like a type of sound and like a type of feeling. So I was like really trying to like work through, what worked with them. So like working by myself was really freeing. And that year I just like went in all the way, and I started writing like crassly and like vulnerably, and just like things in ways that were like, wow, this is like extremely embarrassing, humiliating, but it also felt like so liberating to be like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't talk about these things, or like it's really hard to talk about these things, but I'll sing about it and like let me know how you feel. Like, can you relate? So it's like, yeah, it's easier, it's nice. I love writing like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I really like that, and I hope people who find your music, like, they feel empowered to just put it on paper, sing it, yell it, scream it, jam it out, and get some peace where otherwise only kind of lingering discomfort would be. I like it. Moving up to more current things you're working on. Obviously you went through your working things out raw phase. You played with Burning Beauties, and you've worked with quite a few other people. You've released stuff that has a range of sound while all still sounding like you. But who are you into these days? Who would you say are people more recently that have really been influences to you?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm always super influenced by, Marina and the Diamonds. I like aim to like someday, write and like produce and put out stuff that is like as theatrical and dramatic as her stuff. She's like an honest to God, like pop star, but also at the same time, like an anti-pop star. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Also, I've been listening to some, I don't know, like I feel like now because of IMF, I'm like all over the place with listening to music, and I'll just find like random artists here and there and be like, oh, I like that. And just like specific pieces by them. Like yesterday, I woke up. There was like this post in IMF recently, and this person, I don't even remember the name of the artist, but this is what the post was titled. It's weird where you can get inspiration from. This song's called Soda Light. And the song's called Soda Light. I like forget the name of the artist. But I remember listening to that song and I was like, oh, this is like the best love song I've ever heard. And like the chorus is like, na 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 na. It's all right, soda light. I don't even remember the lyrics.
Yeah.
But I just remember being like, this is so good.
Yeah.
And then there was another one. This was a couple of days ago. And this was just like this guy's like bedroom indie pop song. And it was kind of like trappy, kind of like dreamy, kind of 80s. And I literally like immediately started listening to it and was like immediately inspired to write a song. And that like I'm currently like working on that as well. So yeah, like nowadays my inspirations and like what I pull from is like I couldn't even say one or two people. Yeah, IMF like really opened up my world of like, wow, like I can just listen to so many things, you know?
That's really cool. So you mentioned you're working on a song right now, but what are you working towards? Are you working towards another album or a single? What do you have going on?
What a great question. This is super complicated to answer because so my whole plan with how I want to release my music was, so I released love letters first, and I put like a bunch of my love songs in that. I was like super depressed for a while, like a really, really long time in my life, and so I have a bunch of like basically depression songs, and a lot of them deal with like, you know, the void and suicide and like negative thoughts. And so I want to put all of those in an album called Suicide Notes. And then I have a bunch of like songs dealing with religion. So I want to make an album called Holy Texts. And then I have a bunch of like family music called like, and that I want to call that compilation like family album or something like that. And so what I was going to do next was Suicide Notes, and I started working on that. But I don't know. I feel like I have such a hard time focusing on long projects. And for example, I like the new song that you actually made happen. You know, like I was working on that because I'm going through, you know, like some heartbreak, and it's like really fresh. And I like wrote that song, and then you liked it, and I was just like, cool. Like my focus is on this now. So yeah, my focus is all over the place. The plan is at some point I'm going to get back to Suicide Notes and do that.
Yeah.
But also because of everything going on in the world, I was like, maybe I should step away from myself. And I also have like a bunch of like worker rights and like softer, gentler world, like bleeding heart type music. That's kind of like folky and like, you know, like very much focused on like human rights and like heartbreak over how things could be better. And I've been thinking about focusing on that and like bouncing back and forth between Suicide Notes and that. And that one doesn't have a title yet because I don't know what I would name it.
I'm imagining a house with a half-written song on a Post-it note, covering every inch of your space, where you're just writing all these ideas and songs. But so, how do you go about picking your thoughts and turning them into lyrics?
I am very much like led by how I'm feeling at the time. And then I'm like, oh, cool, like this is in my head right now, so I'm just going to do that. Just because it's the easiest thing to do. And I know that's like a terrible work ethic. Like I'm not disciplined at all. I like struggle with discipline so much, and like finishing projects is like almost impossible. So like I have this backlog of like 30, 40 something songs that I like completely written. They have a structure, they have chords, like they're ready for me to just literally just sit down, record them, mix them, produce them, master them, and like release them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I have like this album, this album, this album, this album. Like the songs are ready. Like it's not like I need to write songs for this concept because I've thought of it. It's just like these songs are written because these are most like the type of things that I just focus on in my life, and I've been going through whatever. And so sometimes I am just like taken over by feeling, and I'm like, time to write a song. And then I do. And then it's just sits there in my Google Docs.
Yeah. When do you feel the most equipped to write a song?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's usually like a feeling first. And then either I like hear something or like somebody says something related to the feeling, and they say it in a way that I'm like, oh, that was a very lyrical way to say that. Or like I say something in conversation that I'm like, wow, like I'm such a poet. And yeah, it's usually like the lyrics with a melody. And then my brain is kind of like, ooh, like imagine these chords backing this up. Like that would sound sick. And like this chord progression. And so I usually start with like melody and lyrics. But in the case of like love song I never wrote, I told you like I had this like riff that was inspired by the song in the Powerpuff Girls, you know? So like it really depends, but it's mostly like a little melody with like a bit of lyrics, like a little jingle.
Yeah.
And I could literally go through my phone. I'm like a crazy person. I will get this idea and I'm like, oh my god, I need to work on this at some point. And so like I'll just sit in my car and I'll be like me, you know, just like okay, like these are the lyrics, this is the melody, and then I have it's called BandLab. It's like an app on the phone, and you can, it's like a mini DAW on the phone. And you can like layer things up. So if the idea comes with like more than just lyrics and melody, I like try to do like all the layers, just like sitting down and being like, this is what the song should sound like at some point. So yeah, it's a variety of things.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing. Like you don't have to get home to the guitar and the computer before you start putting ideas down, you know?
Yeah, no, not at all.
That's cool.
I could go through my like recordings on my phone.
Yeah.
Some of them are terrible. Like I listen to them and I'm like, ew, but I'll keep it, you know?
Yeah. You never know when another idea would perfect that, you know, brainstorm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So often when you have found your comfort zone, people hear these pristine, wonderfully realized ideas, but they don't understand that all of these ideas started where they currently are, you know?
Recently, Dora and Electra released a song called Gentleman/Milady. And then they released like a clip of like the first demo that they made of that song, and it was so bad.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, you are huge. Like, this person is a huge artist. And then they released that, and I was just like, wow. Like, if if this hadn't moved forward from that'd be crazy, you know? And then they put in like months of work, and it's like a real song.
You know, personally, the more I work with other people and I have these conversations with folks, the more I find a song can be real and honest and vulnerable and all the things that make art good. And you can work on it, you know, and you can spend months making it sound good. You know, it doesn't have to be a car out of tune guitar cell phone recording taken in the moment in order to be vulnerable and real. That's cool.
Right. Sometimes it's hard to like balance those things for sure. Because I'm just like, I want to put it out.
I brainstormed for a while with my wife about exactly what a good game for you would be. We went through some ideas, but we kept coming back to the same idea. Your music is very vulnerable, very emotional, very relational. And I want to tap into some of your expertise in a segment I'm calling Dear Porkboii. It's going to be a write-in advice column type show. So since last night when I told you about the idea, I have asked the entire world to send me advice that they need, questions they have for Porkboii.
Oh, wow.
And I got thousands of replies. And I chose the best 3, my favorite 3, and I'm gonna read them to you. And these people are gonna do exactly what you tell them to do. So
No.
so no pressure. But here we go. Okay. First question. All these folks decided to remain anonymous, but we'll try to protect their identity as much as possible. But first question, Dear Porkboii, my husband spends a lot of time creating bots for our Discord server. And I fear he has started building a real robot somewhere in our home. Please help. You are my only hope.
I guess I would need a little bit more context for this question, because would a robot in the home be such a bad thing? Like, what's the worry there? Maybe it's a good robot. Maybe it's like a surprise robot for you. We don't know if it's an evil robot. I think that the best thing to do is have an honest sit-down conversation with your husband about the robot and just put it all out in the open, like, hey, I think you might be building a robot. I'm a bit worried. Should I be worried? I feel these ways. What's your perspective on this? Just like sit down and talk, and then maybe if things work out, you can work on the robot together. And wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that does seem like the win-win-win situation here. Yeah. All 3 people, the husband, the wife, and the robot win in this situation. So let's dive in a little further into this question. What would you say if we just assumed the robot is definitely evil? What would your advice be then?
Oh man, I feel like that complicates things. I've never been in a situation where I have to deal with an evil robot or like a husband or
they're the same thing, honestly.
I think, clearly the suspicions of this robot are coming from somewhere. So I will try to follow the clues and try to find the robot. And if it's evil, when there's a threat, you just have to like neutralize it. That's like always the priority. You don't want the robot to like eat your pets or whatever, so make sure to neutralize the threat first. I know I'm like using military language on purpose because of the ridiculousness of the question.
Identify, neutralize,
disengage. But yeah, identify, neutralize, disengage, and then re-engage with the husband, because I think this is the crux of the issue, right? Is like why would you do that? And once the robot's not part of the equation, you can have an honest conversation. Because if there's still a threat and then you're asking your husband about it, he'll get all shifty-eyed, and then be like, I don't know what you're talking about, and then suddenly the robot's gonna come out, and like you don't know what's gonna happen then. So
That's
you gotta
true.
get rid of the robot first.
Yes. I think in both counts, this advice has been perfect, and I hope the person needing the advice is listening and getting this information far away from the ears of the robot, just in case it's evil.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to move on to question 2 here. Again, everyone chose to remain anonymous.
Okay.
Dear Porkboii, I am taking a ceramics class for the first time this year and having the worst time getting the handles to stick on my coffee mugs. How would you attach them more firmly? P.S. I would ask my teacher, but I believe they are a ghost. Help me. You are my only hope.
This person sounds like a character from the movie Ghost. So I can actually answer this question because ceramics. This is how you attach handles to coffee mugs. Let's ignore the ghost for now. I'm just going to assume the ghost is not an issue. Let's assume the ghost is an issue, and maybe you want to have a better relationship with your teacher. Get a Ouija board. Like that's the only way to communicate. But let's get back to the coffee mug. You basically have to scratch the surface of the mug, and then scratch the surface of the handle where they connect, right? And then you gotta wet those spots. So you basically have some like really loose, really scratchy, really textured, clay. Wet it a little bit, and then you stick them like that. Like the texture should be like waterier clay, and then you stick them together, and then you hold them, and then you like put pressure on that. So you do that every time you have to every time you want to put 2 pieces of clay together, you gotta scratch both sides, and you gotta wet both sides, and then you stick them together, and then you like smooth them down. And that's it. It's all about texture and patience.
A lot of things are about texture and patience. That's good to keep in mind. Awesome.
It's like life.
Awesome. So Ouija board for the teacher.
Yes, Ouija board for the teacher.
And make little lines and wet and smooth the coffee cup.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Third question.
Okay.
Dear Porkboii, I have had a special relationship with a man for all of my life. I trust him and love him, but I do not think he loves me the same way. However, he often says things about not letting his wife find out about me. I do not know what to do and hope I can win his heart. Do you think I should remove his human wife? Sincerely, a robot.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. This is the advice that I'm going to give to this robot is I think you're clearly the other person in this relationship, and you gotta think on this. This man is clearly concerned about the wife. So, what? It sounds like the wife is a priority here. Do you really want this man to love you and cherish you? Like, do you trust this person to ever prioritize you? I'd say no. I'd say you need to move on to a human man who will actually appreciate you for who you are and prioritize you as the first thing in their life without, being concerned for a wife who might find out about you. This person's clearly not have your best interest at heart. So I'd say remove yourself from the equation. And look for someone better, someone who will make you number one.
Yeah, you don't want to have to murder someone to get someone else's love.
No, because then you're all tied up in a murder case, and that complicates relationships a lot.
True. Yeah, that would be one of the most complex relationships you could be in, I imagine.
Absolutely. Yes. I watch
You
a
have
lot of crime, like true crime on YouTube,
Yeah.
and things only get complicated with murder. Like I've never seen a situation where people are like, I'm going to remove this person from the equation, and then they do, and things get easier. They never get
Yes.
easier.
They never get easier. Yeah, that is an
Yes.
astute observation.
Yes.
And I would, I would say, if a ghost ceramics teacher is a problem, a ghost wife you killed would definitely complicate your
Oh my
situation
God,
there
yeah.
too. So yeah. All right. I think you have done a lot of good here today, Porkboii. I trust that everyone listening is going to adhere to this advice in a way that is meaningful and helpful to their life.
With a grain of salt, please, so I'm not like fully responsible for what happens.
Howdy again, y'all. I hope you are enjoying the episode so far, and I hope you've taken all of Porkboi's life advice to heart 100% and are committed to seeing what happens if you do it. Obviously, that's not true. Please do not get your life advice from an indie music podcast. That would be an insane idea for you and for me. I want to take a moment just to, again, ask you to subscribe to this podcast or like it or favorite it, whatever your podcatcher lets you do. Of course, write a review if you can. That's how other people can find the show, can find Porkboi's music, can find all of my delightful jokes and terrible observations about things, whatever it is that I'm doing as the host of this show. I'm not quite sure. Of course, also check out the link tree where you can engage with me on different social medias. I look forward to talking with you. And check out the folks who have sponsored the show with their time, their resources, and their talent. Every link down there is worth checking out. I would like to ask my favorite question of the show typically, and that is just, why do you make music at all?
I want to get famous. I mean, yes and no. I feel like, as I mentioned before, music allows me really great meditative, sort of like focused way to deal with my emotions and to be able to express them. And it's gotten me, through so much stuff. When I'm heartbroken, when I feel alone, when I want to die, I can just write it down, and it allows me like to really think about it. And when you write music, it's, I think it's an important way to be like concise, precise, specific, so that people understand what you're trying to say. But you also have to work within the structure that you've given yourself for the song, so it works as a song. So you get to like really think about all the aspects of what you're trying to say. But you also have to, sometimes I will include things in songs that I'm like, this is like not necessarily like true or necessarily what I'm trying to say, but it sounds beautiful. It like sounds better. So being able to like play around with concepts and emotions and feelings is a great way to parse through my thoughts and feelings. And also it's a way to like really, in a way, like seek out connection with people. Like one of my favorite things to do is play live, and then after I'm done playing, people coming up to me and being like, I really like this about this song. It reminds me of this thing I went through or this thing I'm going through. And I feel like you really like put down those emotions in a way that I can like really relate to and connect to and like really help me think through that thing. And it's super nice. And like the getting famous thing is a joke and also not a joke. I like struggle a lot with like intimate relationships, not with friendships. I'm like such an amazing friend, and I have amazing friends, but
and humble too.
But I think, and this is gonna sound like a crazy person thing to say, but because I struggle so much with intimate relationships, I'm like, well, maybe like I'll never have like a successful like intimate relationship that I can say like, oh, this was like a lasting thing, and I'm like really happy about how that went. But maybe if I'm famous, I'll get the love of my adoring fans, and that will, cover that void and like fill that void for me.
Yeah,
instead.
yeah. I think I'm gonna have to put on the Dear Porkboii hat again and just say I think every single famous person ever is proof that the love of fans is not enough.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no.
Yeah, for sure. But I like knowing that you are upfront with a desire to get your music to more people. It's hard to say I want more people to hear me. I want to become more famous, or for whatever that specific word means. It's hard to say that because tied up in that is a confidence in your own work, and I think that is an important thing to have. And I'm glad you have it. But
it's not enough. I know that I need to like put in more work into my music, into production. I think is like definitely like my the weakest aspect of my music right now. But I used to like not really want to like strive for that. But so many of my friends and the people that have listened to my music have been like, you should be big, like you should, and I'm like, maybe I should strive for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that there's a healthy way and an unhealthy way to pursue anything.
Absolutely.
And if you keep your mind straight and you pursue your goal with your own personal physical, mental, emotional health in mind and kept as a priority, I think you really could go somewhere important in quotes with your music, with your style.
Oh yeah, if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be crushed. But one of the things that I've like heard recently, like from an illustrator, was that one of the ways to succeed is to just believe in yourself. So if I think if I've been told that I can do it, but I don't try, it's never going to happen, Yeah. So I'm like, hey, I'm already like putting in all this work. I'm like putting in all this money. I might as well, work towards this and like give myself an actual real chance. And that like, I have to like put it in my mind like, oh, it's going to happen eventually. It's not like if it's going to happen. It feels like a lot, but also like, how else? I gotta manifest it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I would always come back to reminding myself and reminding people when I have the opportunity that if your beliefs don't become actions, they don't matter. Believing in yourself without putting your music places for people to hear it, or what whatever. If you're an illustrator, without signing up for illustration job interviews that you probably can't get, but you're trying. Like that is belief in action, and I think that's cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, heck yeah, man. I love to give folks an opportunity to suggest a piece of homework for me and for the listeners. One album or a book or a movie or a video game, something that you think everybody should experience before they die.
I live in a house full of artists, right? And one of my friends from high school that I actually started writing music with and like working on music with lives literally down the hall from me. And he goes by the name Borasisi, Borasisi. He's an instrumental experimental artist. He recently released a short EP called Nota Bene that you can find on Spotify. And if you don't have access to Spotify, there's also Thenity. He titles his music in really fantastic ways. I really admire his titling skills for songs. The last song he released that's a single is Serenity for the Victims of State-Sanctioned Violence, and it's inspired by a song about the victims of Nagasaki and Hiroshima by another artist, another like experimental instrumentalist as well. Yeah, so if you like experimental music, if you like noise music, listen to Boris AC. I'd recommend starting with Nota Bene on Spotify.
I will. I'll check that out for sure. I really enjoy when art of any kind points to something greater. Declares something more significant than the art itself. And it sounds like he takes his time to do just that, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, awesome. I want to move into the last song you're going to share with us. I'd like for you to introduce it, of course. So tell us some about Let Me before I hit play.
Yeah, boy. Okay, so this year, I'm just going through like a little bit of heartbreak, and as I said, I struggle with like intimate relationships, and I think mostly because I am like a super romantic person. So when I like get feelings for somebody, I'm like, wow, let me love you. Like I want to love you all the time, and I want to like take care of you, and blah blah blah. And sometimes like people are just like, I don't want the love that you're providing and like giving to me, which is fine, like everybody's, like I'm not going to force love on anybody. I've been kind of like dealing with that here and like thinking through it, and I was thinking about like some of the interactions that I've had with this person, and thinking about those and like the significance of those interactions to me. So I like wrote this song. I like played it at an open mic, and then you were like, "Oh, let's make this into like I want to play into what do you say a hop along."
Yeah.
And then
it's funny too. I say something like that at almost every open mic, and this is one of the only times it's actually happened.
Really, I'm happy. Dury or the HXP and you on the drums, Dory in I think he did like bass and guitar, and then Loam produced it, and I love the song. I think it bangs, and I'm so excited to release it. It comes out on September 26th, and then I also made a music video for it, which I'm also very excited about.
Will that come out same day?
No, it'll come out like a day after. That way you don't get everything at once. You don't get a taste. Get the song first and then the video.
Yeah. Well, I like it. And that way, people, if they came out on the same day, they're like, well, I just heard it. I don't need to watch it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I always say the wrong thing to your jokes. I wish you weren't joking, 'cause it hurts. Would I hold your hand and take your name? I won't, but if you take my hand, you may take my name instead.
It's funny that every time I finish tracking something, I'll let the cymbals fade and then I'll just jam something because I'm just kind of like, yes, I finally finished that. I feel good about that one. I'll just jam, and I almost always forget to cut like me talking to myself or jamming on the end off, and I always kind of expect whoever gets the song will, and they usually do, but not Loam, not the best.
Yeah, you left it in.
Yeah, not the best producer ever. He left it.
I don't know. It's on the video and it's on I submitted it to a bunch of like people on Submit Hub, and it got accepted. So I'm like, cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. I remember when, Oh, I was going to say, I remember when you mentioned that you got accepted on a bunch of Submit Hub, channels or playlists or whatever they're called. That was one of the first times I really heard a lot of good news from Submit Hub. It seems like they're always just nitpicking and turning things down, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, fortunately, I've been able to find what are they playlisters and bloggers that I tell the same type of music that I'm doing. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I know exactly who to submit to that I'll have higher chances. To get approved from.
That's awesome. So how do you go about I guess just discerning that, finding where those better places to submit are? How have you learned that?
So I basically just go into Submit Hub and go through the genre, the genres that I'm trying to get into, and I go into the playlisters, bloggers, etc., and then I go to their blogs. I read through their blogs. I read what they say. I listen to the music that they're sharing. I do so much research. And then if I can tell oh, they like this type of music, they enjoy music that is about this or that, and if that aligns with what I'm doing, then I put them on my favorites. And then when I start submitting songs, I just do show me my favorites, and then I submit to my favorites.
That's awesome. I think that's the kind of tip that people need after they have found those beginning inspirations for creating the music. Is a lot of people, just me specifically included, find promoting to just be an impossible task.
It is so difficult. Promoting is so hard.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm grateful you've, I guess, put in the time to find a way that works, and and have it in a few sentence form. It's not magic if you can explain it, and I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I will be sure to put your link so folks can find you in the show notes. But also, of course, you're a part of the Discord all the time. So if anybody is looking for you, they could just tag you here. But yeah, man, I'm really grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your art. I'm grateful for your willingness to share your journey and just your unique outlook and soul with us, both in chat but also in your music. So thank you so much, and we'll let you go.
Thank you, T-Rex. You're the best. Thanks for this interview.
Yeah, awesome, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
I'm a big fan of a personal mantra, which is to write every song. And I think what Porkboii has shared with us today is a willingness to do just that. She turns all of her emotions, or thoughts, or just ideas into melodies or songs or potential artistic ideas for the future. And while all of those ideas may not become full songs, they are the practice that will become songs worth recording, sharing, collaborating, and releasing with some measure of success, I read recently that it's often audacity and not talent that will lead a person to artistic success. I hope in some way, big or small, what Porkboii shared with us today is helping you embrace a little more tenacity, a little more willingness to engage with your own ideas and treat them seriously with respect. I'm very grateful for her time, and I'm very grateful you have taken some time to listen. I hope you check out some more of her music and some more episodes of the show. As always, it's recorded live weekly on the Indie Music Feedback Discord server, and we would love to have you. Until then, please stay courageous, stay curious, and stay creative.